Hey guys, it's Brooke Henning here. I'm the founder of the High Ticket Ecom Incubator, and I'm here with Chris Tester. As we are just saying, my hydro keeps going out, so we're gonna have to
We'll see.
maybe, well, we'll see how it goes. So if you lose us in the middle of the meeting, that is why. But Chris, do you want to just introduce yourself? Obviously, you've covered your name,
Sure.
but where you're from, maybe what you did in the past, any previous ecom experience before you started the program.
Sure. So, hi everyone, my name is Chris, and I'm from Ottawa, Canada. My background prior to joining the high ticket e-commerce incubator, kind of a health and wellness entrepreneur since I graduated university, which feels like a long time ago. But out of school, I joined a supplement and wellness concept, and we took it public. And then
Oh
from
wow.
there, I joined a natural products distribution company and kind of grew through that business and ended up running the sales department there. And ultimately, I launched my own supplement brand in 2017. And that was very much a retail first kind of
So your
concept.
goal is just kind of get in like GNC and things like
Distribution.
that.
Yeah, so we got it in GNC, Popeyes in Canada, as you know, and then Whole Foods and a lot of the big box retailers as well. So learned a lot through that. Got really interested in e-commerce kind of during those moments, but never dove into it because my background was more retail and distribution. Fast forward to COVID, I ended up we closed down that business and I joined a hedge fund and ended up running sales and marketing for the hedge fund. And throughout that whole experience, in the back of my mind, I was thinking, man, I really just want to dive into e-commerce because it's kind of that itch I kept wanting to scratch throughout the way. And so I think I came across some of your tweets at some point during that process and decided to try it and dive in.
Good stuff, man. So what have your total results been since joining and maybe your best month so far?
Yeah, so we just crossed six figures in
Wow,
sales.
congrats. That's always a
That was
cool thing to see on the dashboard.
Yeah, it was a nice milestone. I think our best month so far was 50,000.
Awesome.
So it's been good. Yeah, we haven't actually had a full month yet without our ads fully running. So I'm excited to kind of see how things progress from there.
Yeah. As we have more brands and get the ads going, you'll naturally scale that way.
Definitely.
So you mentioned kind of a bit what you were doing before with the hedge fund, supplement brand hedge fund. Is that something you're still doing alongside the store, or what does your day look like now?
Yeah, so I was full time with the hedge fund up until about a month ago. So I just decided it wasn't for me. That's not my world. I need to get back to building something of my own. So I'm full time on this, and then I own another business with my wife, who she kind
Oh,
of actually
nice.
manages it. So, but I'm doing kind of both of those now full time. So going forward, this will be pretty much my full time occupation. But when I started off, I was working 60-ish hours a week, and still kind of doing this
Wow.
chipping away at the side. So it's it
You
works.
know, that's cool to hear because a lot of people, I think they get scared when they have a job to get started. Obviously, the end goal for a lot of people is to step out of the job, but I don't think like you're an excellent example, and I think we have some others in the group that have started this with a pretty demanding job. And while this is not, it's not progress isn't going to be as fast as it could if you didn't have one. It's definitely possible to chip away, make progress. It obviously takes a lot of discipline, but it's
Yeah,
possible, right? How did you find it
absolutely.
at the beginning doing both?
Look, it's challenging. I think there's a couple things. One is there's a blueprint to follow. So
Yeah.
you just follow it, chip away day to day, and you're going to get there. I think when you have time constraints, though, it makes you really think about what those high leverage activities or things that you need to do are. So it almost helps, it forces you to focus, I think, even more on what you need to do. So immediately I hired a VA early on and started delegating stuff right out of the gate and just focused on bringing brands on, fixing up the website and those sorts of things. But it's definitely possible.
So, what have you yet to delegate? What have you delegated to this point?
So I've delegated product uploads because that is something that I really dislike doing.
I hate it too.
Um, yeah, I did the first dozen and then said I'm terrible at this, and then I delegated that right away. So product uploads and customer service are
Okay. So you're not even doing phone stuff anymore. That's all off your plate.
pretty well. Yeah, I'll jump in from time to time, mostly because I'm trying to learn it and
Yeah.
understand where the gaps are. We've had a lot of interest in some higher B2B opportunities, so I've jumped in and kind of taken over those sorts of activities. But the day-to-day customer service, I'm not involved with at all anymore.
That makes sense. Like if you're going to get an order for a bunch of super high priced items, it makes sense just to
Totally.
take the, yeah. That's kind of what I do even. Or I did. I don't really know anymore, but when I did outsource customer service, I would still do stuff like that for quite a while.
Makes sense.
Makes sense. So what were your expectations kind of coming into the program? Like, did you think that you would have had the results you had to this point? Did you think, is this kind of in line with expectations? Like you knew you could do it, it was just a matter of executing? Or how has the journey actually compared to what you would have expected before you started?
It's a great question. I wouldn't say I had any sort of monetary expectations coming into it. I really just wanted to learn, and I've kind of felt, well, worst case, I'm going to figure this out and make enough to pay for the cost of the program, and it's definitely far exceeded my expectations. I think I wanted to use it as a tool to learn the space and figure out where there was a bigger business opportunity in there,
Makes sense.
and I think now I'm seeing results. I'm kind of starting to wrap my head around it, and so now we're going to go all in and build a business really.
Good stuff, man. Yeah. That's what I think a lot of people need to hear is like it is a business that you can build as big as you want, but most importantly, it's an MBA of ecom. Like you could do this and you're not only going to learn, you're going to build a real business, but you're also going to learn ads, you're going to learn website, you're going to learn email, you're going to learn all this stuff. So like maybe someone's calling is running an agency and then they learn that skill here, but they also know how to run a business. Maybe the calling is to start their own brand and they can make a whole bunch of capital, stockpile it, and then start their own brand. It's just a really good foot in the door for someone who doesn't have experience in ecom, and they can go all in on it if they want, but it's not like that you're going to do this. There's no situation where you do this and you don't take a ton away.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Like the startup capital to try it is so low.
It's ridiculous. Like if
Yeah,
you were to start any of the brands we're selling for, you would need multiple six figures to do that.
at least just
Yeah.
to start.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And we don't have any risk. And I honestly think like once you factor in their employee costs, their warehouse costs, I imagine in a lot of the situations we probably have a higher profit just because of how low the overhead is. Like you can, if you weren't running ads, you could keep the store up for like $200 a month, probably.
easily, easily. Yeah, there's what I learned through my last business. There's a couple real, I'd say, benefits to this style of e-commerce. One is you're not trying to create demand.
No,
You're just trying to capture a piece of demand that's already out there, and I can't even describe how valuable that is. Like it's insane. The other one is very cash flow light, so you're not starting a brand where all your cash is sitting in inventory and you're having to float that,
yes.
right? So that like that's a it's incredible. You can focus on things that are going to grow the business versus just trying to manage something.
That's even a
And
whole thing itself is the cash flow side of things. Like even you could be a super profitable business on paper, but be screwed because you're sitting on X amount in inventory and maybe sales have dropped 1 month and it's like I don't have any money for ads, but on paper I'm profitable, but I just have all this inventory and I don't know what to do with it. So you're in a risky position, you know. But we don't have
completely,
that.
I've lived that nightmare. It's you're floating this inventory, and in my case, there was a shelf life to it. So it's almost like you're trying to manage a melting ice cube and just trying to keep gas.
Yeah,
And it's hard. It's very hard. The brands that figure it out, they're great businesses, but
not for a beginner though. Someone who's never run a business should not be trying to figure that out.
no,
Yeah.
no. Start here, figure this out, and then you can take and grow your brand in whatever way you want.
Yeah, I completely agree. I completely agree. So on the content side of things, or the way you've done it, do you think there's been any breaking points that have led to your success that you think would give you an advantage over every other person? Would it be like a niche you picked that you feel really good about your niche? Is it you really think you're good at ads? Your website's really nice. What do you think's been like the breaking point for you, if any?
It's a great question. I wouldn't say I have anything figured out yet. I kind of just picked the niche on a whim before really diving into it. I think one thing that I'm going to figure this out, and it's going to become a big business. But I think some experience, I understand supplier relationships, negotiating deals through the course. The biggest thing for me has been learning ads. Like I came in with zero experience in ads, and so following the modules to kind of help understand how it all works, and it's laid out like beautifully, and then having people there to kind of support and help with questions I have along the way has been very valuable. But I think with the right mentality, there's a great toolkit there where you can take this and kind of run with it any way you want.
So what would your goals be for, I know, is it you want to build this business specifically into a big business where you're actually potentially warehousing with your own brand? Is it you just want to focus on the high ticket e-com side, build up an SEO powerhouse with a whole bunch of traffic? What are your visions for the store? Would you sell it? Would you open other stores? What's your kind of vision in e-com now?
Yeah, I think to start, it's getting great at this model.
Yeah.
So understanding SEO, ads, scaling this up, and then ultimately launching our own branded items. I think it would be too soon to say what those will be. I have some ideas, but I think it's really understanding the customer and kind of figuring out where the gaps are, and then ultimately launching our own brand and turning this into a real big business.
I think yeah. There's you'll probably know who I'm talking about. There's another store, someone in your niche, that has done that very well.
Yeah,
You know who I mean? I think.
I know. Oh yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
they've done a great job.
They have.
Great job. And the nice part about this model is you can see many other examples of businesses that have done it. So there's a lot of blueprints to kind of follow
Yeah.
and learn from out there.
It is really a simple model. Like if you have the website, SEO, ads dialed in, and customer service, like it's not there's not a whole bunch of, yeah, like you said, trying to manage the melting ice cube, or like trying to get all this financing or to run the business. It's just like if you just do these simple things very well for a long period of time, it's almost impossible to fail. And I think that's what a lot of people miss is like the business model works. It's just, are you going to stick at it long enough for it to work for you? Because a lot
Completely.
of that's because it's not like if you just get traffic to the website somehow, however you do that, whether it's ads, whether it's SEO, however you get it, if you push traffic to the website, there's already demand for the products on there.
Completely.
So if you just make people trust you, you get them on there. It's not that
Yeah.
difficult. It's not a lot of things you have to crack. You know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah, there's a lot of things you just need, and you just have to do a couple of them right, and it'll work.
You don't
Uh,
need to do one of them right. Like I think if you do just ads right and you have a shitty website, you'll probably still do pretty well. If you have
right.
a beautiful website but you're so at ads, you probably still do well. But if you get all of them right, then it's like okay, now you're starting to see some really good results.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Um, so if you go back to yourself or someone considering the business model, like let's say you're imagining someone, they want to get started with their own business. They don't really know where to start. What would you recommend to them? Number one, about high tech e-com in general. Like, how do you think it is for a beginner? Is that a good place for them to start? And number two, just about the program that we built at the high tech e-com incubator.
For sure. Yeah, I think in terms of a starting business model, it's perfect. I think it's the barrier to entry is very low. The upside is tremendously high, and there's a lot of skills you're going to learn. So I think in terms of a business model, it's the perfect start. I think you'll learn pretty quickly what you like and dislike about it, and then you can either hire for the things you dislike and double down on what you do like. But there's a framework there to start, and I think it's a great starting point for anybody that wants to get into business. In terms of the course, so I can't recommend it anymore. It's been fantastic. I think it's there's a blueprint to follow that's there to guide you every step along the way. So it takes a lot of that uncertainty about what do I do next out of the picture. You can just follow it, chip away at it day to day. There's a couple other things that I think are really important to underscore. One would be as you're going through that process, challenges are going to present themselves.
Yes.
It it's going to happen. It doesn't matter how good you are, things are going to happen. So for me, for example, I had my Google account was suspended. It would have taken me forever to figure out how to
Yeah.
unsuspend that thing. I'd just probably still be trying to do it. So I think having a group of people who have done this before and understand this world to help guide you through the process, that's worth way more than whatever you're going to charge for the course. It's incredibly invaluable because I think chances are whatever problems or challenges you're going to face, there's only so many, and somebody, probably the coaches, but also people within the group, are going to know how to help you solve that. And I think
Very
that
rarely that, yeah, someone's going to have a problem that
yeah,
nobody has ever seen before.
completely. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're going to fall into a couple different buckets, and you have a group of people that'll help you troubleshoot how to get through that. So I think like if anything, it's going to help you get to where you want to be a lot faster. I think there's one other subtle but I think even more important benefit to the program is the mental framework that it teaches you. Because I think if you're really paying attention, you're learning how to take high leverage action. And I
Yes.
think that that's a that's a skill that, at least for me, I've learned that I probably wasted a lot of time in everything else I was doing, and just learning how to take or focus on the right things to lead to dramatic outcomes is an incredibly valuable skill that I think, if you're paying attention during the course, you're going to walk away with. So,
That's a really good point. And I think like that's one thing I'm very mindful of is like working hard is obviously super important. But like there's a lot of people who work hard. Working hard isn't that hard. Like brick laborers work hard. There's a lot of people who work hard.
yeah,
There's not a lot of people who work hard on the right things. So if
completely.
you can, and I think like you said, when you have the job and you have a limited amount of time every day to do this, if you just sit down and think, okay, what three things, if I could only do three things in an hour and a half, 2 hours, what would they be? And if you just do that every single day, it's possible because you could spend 12 hours a day uploading products.
Good.
But is that going to push the business forward? Yes, but it would push the business forward 10 times more for you to call 10 suppliers and close three of them and then have someone else do the product uploads, right?
Completely.
Yeah.
Completely.
So
Yeah.
I think you're right. Like starting in business overall, I think will teach you that. If you want to do well, you have to think like that. If there's only so much time, how can I best spend it? And then do
Abs-
that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So if you're, I think if you come into this and you're not, this isn't a trade. This isn't a get rich thing. It's learning how to build a business. You're not trading time for money. You're learning
Yes.
how to build something, and it takes work. But I think there's more than enough information to learn the basics and just chip away at it, and it'll happen for you.
Good stuff, man. Well, thanks a lot. It's been great chatting, and we've got 5% battery left. So
Okay.
thanks a lot for
Awesome.
coming on, man. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks a lot.